another movie review that I've been inspired to do by someone who commented on my previous review of Steven Soderbergh's Behind the Candelabra. This time I'm going to talk about another Liberace biopic, Liberace Behind the Music, which is much older and really, really different. But someone asked me, had I seen this, and if so, what did I think of it? So, yeah, I have seen it more than once. And what do I think of it? I like it a lot. I wanted to make this video, though, to explain about the differences, because if you like Behind the Candelabra, I definitely think you should watch this. And then go on to read a book, hopefully, or the book, about this fantastic guy. I like the movie a lot, but it is very different from Soderbergh's much more recently released biopic. This movie stars Victor Garber in the title role. I think he is a really underrated actor. I think he does a very good job in this movie. The LA Times this year, Victor Garber plays the lead with sureness and nuanced credibility. I totally agree. I think he does a very good job, and sure, maybe he doesn't do quite as good a job as Michael Douglas, but Garber's challenge was totally different, because the main difference in these two pictures is the scope. Behind the Candelabra focuses on Lee's relationship with Scott Thorson, which lasted for 6 years, and that's it. That's it. But this is basically trying to chronicle, in what, 96 minutes, Lee's entire adult life, which is a much bigger challenge. So Douglas only plays the aging Lee of the spectacular Las Vegas years, whereas Garber here has to portray him from basically late teens until mid to late 60s. So it's a totally different challenge, and I think he really rises to it. He is not quite as convincing in his speech patterns and so on, but he does do a very, very good job, and you have no problems recognizing Lee in this actor. Also the big difference is in, well, two more big differences. This is a much cheaper production. They obviously haven't had anywhere near the resources that Steven Soderbergh and HBO brought to bear on their project. This is so much, I'm not going to say it's cheaply made, because it doesn't look cheap, but it's obvious that they have steered away from the scenes that would have been really expensive. So there aren't any big crowd scenes. Like when you see Lee on stage, you only see him. You don't see the audience, you don't see, yeah. And they've steered away from the big production numbers. And so, again, it doesn't look cheap, and they have some really nice looking sets, and they have good costumes and everything, but they spent the money that they had where they would do the most good, but they obviously haven't had anywhere near as much money as HBO. So that's the big difference. If you're expecting this real visual spectacular, you're going to be a bit disappointed, because they haven't had the resources to create that with this movie. So they've gone instead for the, how should I phrase this? The more intimate scenes. Intimate as in smaller in scope, not intimate. There aren't any sex scenes in this movie. Or there is one, but it doesn't really count. Yeah, so that's a big difference. And then there is, so the general tone that this movie takes in portraying its main character is also very different. Because, well, first of all, you have to remember that this movie, it was made in 1988. That's the year after Lee died. So obviously that's not the time. I mean, he was incredibly popular. I don't think we can understand how popular he was. He was so loved by so many people that to produce something that would have been seen by many people as kind of slanderous. One of the people who would have seen it as slanderous would have been Angelina Liberace, or Angelina Farrell, was it, at that time? Lee's sister, the only surviving Liberace sibling. And yeah, you don't want to drag that up the year after the guy dies, obviously. So this is a very, very friendly portrayal of Lee, especially what I the part I don't like is in the portrayal of the relationship between Lee and Scott. They totally take Lee's word for everything, and they portray it exactly as he claimed it was, that he was just being the nice guy, and and Scott, I mean, was this out of control freak who basically abused Lee's trust. And, you know, Scott is really made out to be the bad guy here. Not necessarily because he is bad, but because he's taking drugs and yada yada. So, and Lee is very innocent and just, oh, I don't know how this could be happening to me. Where obviously in the black hole that initially loving relationship became, they both have to shoulder equal shares of the blame. But again, this is all seen from Lee's viewpoint behind the candelabra, which is much more fair portrayal of both of them. That is seen from Scott's viewpoint. It's based on his book, his autobiography. This is obviously based on what Lee told of himself. So obviously it's going to be much more friendly to Lee, but again, you have to remember when this was made. So I think that the portrayal of Lee in private is much nicer than the real thing. Because Lee was not always the adorable, super charming guy that you saw, or not you, but the people saw on stage. I, of course, never got to see him. I was only 11 when he died, going on 11. So, one of the great tragedies of my life. But I'm sure he really was this incredibly charming, adorable guy, but he also had more than one side to him, which we all do, and I think he was a really difficult person to live with. That certainly doesn't come across in this movie. If you're interested in not just the more salacious aspects, like just Lee and Scott, if you're interested in Liberace's life, then I think this movie is a good starting point for you. Like I said, it chronicles from when he was really starting out. You see him with Florence Kelly, who was his teacher, who was essential in shaping his life and his career. You see him with his family, with his brothers, but I actually can't remember if Rude is in this movie. Probably isn't featured heavily. But George is here. It looks into their relationship a little bit. Of course, with his mother, his friends, and Seymour Heller, his longtime agent, is here. There's just a lot. It explores many more of the relationships in his life. It is bigger in scope in some ways than Behind the Candelabra, because this really deals with not just that one relationship, but with his life much more as a whole. So if you're interested in Lee, you should definitely see this. This is not an Academy Award winner, but it is, I think, very well worth seeing. Certainly, if you're interested in Lee's life and in his talent, then you should definitely see this. And then you should go on to reading a book that I'm going to review, hopefully soon-ish, Liberace, An American Boy, by Darden Asbury Pyron, which you should definitely read if you feel the interest in learning more after you see this. Because this is true. You know, they haven't taken any liberties with what actually happened, but there was much more to it. Certainly, there was much more to Lee. He is portrayed as a total sweetheart, kind of naive, just an adorable guy who is maybe too trusting of people, and yeah, that's the only thing that I have against this movie. I think it's, with its budget, they've done a fantastic job with the costumes and settings. The actors are very good, Victor Garber especially, but Saul Rubinek also, who plays Seymour Heller, is very, very good. They've done a great job with the casting. The screenplay is good, except for this sort of whitewash kind of thing, which is very understandable considering when it was made, and the resources that they had to bring the script together. So yeah, it's true as far as it goes, but there's much more to Lee, so watch this movie, and then watch more, read, and enjoy his fantastic life, his fantastic music. But definitely watch Liberace, Behind the Music. I really recommend this. Not the greatest movie you'll ever see, but for any fan of Lee, or if you think you could become a fan of Lee, then this is definitely a good place to start. David Greene's Liberace, Behind the Music.
Behind the glamour, Would you mind if I go out and slip into something a little more spectacular?
He hid the loneliness.
What is the secret of life?
It's the first time for everything.
And the pain. Behind the public adoration, the cravings of a young musician.
Are you dedicated to music or to success?
Can I shoot for both?
Encore! I believed in you from the day you were born.
He had a longing to fill the emptiness.
Make yourself obvious by the company you keep.
And was met with betrayal.
I could kill you. You ever think of that?
Behind the extravagance,
I'm almost ashamed to take the money, but I will.
there was determination
You're strong.
that he could have it all.
You make what I call direct contact.
And behind the extraordinary talent,
Feels great. Feels great to have some company again.
Accentuate the positive.
there was a man the people never really knew.
You proved you're a true survivor.
Mr. Showmanship wants to be remembered for his shows.
Starring Maureen Stapleton and Victor Garber as Liberace. From award-winning director David Greene, Liberace, Behind the Music.
Okay, we're ready now. Hey, wait a second. Elvis, you play piano?
Well, yes, I do, but not like you, man.
Well, I don't play guitar like you, so we're even. Here, try that. Terrific.
All right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. Take it, Elvis. In a small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. All right, sir. I mean, Lee. You're a good old boy. You're all right.